Good morning, and welcome to Unity of Music City Online. I'm Deb Moore, and I'll be spending the next several moments with you in our virtual coming together. We're coming to you from our Gallatin studios, so if you hear the distant meowing of a cat locked in a bathroom, or the yip of a dog from his vacation in the spare bedroom, then please do what we will try to do and ignore it as much as possible. I want to briefly remind you that even though we're currently unable to meet for our regular services and special events, the regular expenses of maintaining our space for our eventual return still continue. So to stay in the flow of giving and receiving, be sure to visit unityofmusiccity.com and click Donate in the top menu bar for ways to pay your tithes and offerings. And when you do, you might want to pause and say, everything I put into universal flow comes back into my life, heaped up, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, for that's the law. And so it is. For several years now, when we've welcomed you into our face-to-face Sunday morning services, we've added the tagline, "A place of authentic transformation." At the moment, though, we're unable to be in our place, the place that we share together. So it's made me think about place, what that means exactly. Perhaps we should amend our tagline for these unique times. So, welcome to Unity of Music City Online, holding the space for authentic transformation. All of this is also making me think a lot about change. It seems to me that transformation and change were synonyms. So, like the good little English professor I am, I went to the thesaurus. I looked up transformation, and it seems it has a connotation that it is a bit more intense than change. I found words like conversion, which of course made me think of my youth in the fundamentalist church. I found words like metamorphosis, which we could do a whole lot with right now. That whole caterpillar, cocoon, butterfly thing, you get the picture. I found words like renewal and shift and transmogrification, which means changing into a completely different form, sometimes using magic. The only synonym listed that included change was the phrase radical change. Transformation is radical change. So all of this changing going on around us, we Unitics, we've been practicing for this day. Never before have we had such an amazing opportunity to see what our spiritual practice looks like all on its own. If my calculations are correct, this is the fourth Sunday that we have been unable to meet as a community. And if you're anything like me, you're missing our place just a little bit. You're missing the hugs and the smiles, the coffee, the Danish, the music, the meditation, and the message of encouragement to live a full and positive life. Even just seeing the posts from Denise and Judy last week and 3 weeks ago, where they were filming from the church, made me miss our space all the more. The color of the walls and the piano, the wall hanging behind Judy's head, Judy, Denise, everybody. This safer at home style of living has a lot of folks thinking about what they're missing. I've seen people all over social media posting memes or personal thoughts about what they miss or what they'll be most anxious to see or do again when this is over. People are missing restaurants. Boy, are we missing restaurants. I'm pretty sure there's been more cooking at home in the last month than any time since the invention of the automobile. Personally, I feel terribly overworked because I've had to load, run, and unload the dishwasher every day, barefoot, in the snow, uphill, both ways, all of that. People are missing shopping. I went to Ace Hardware the other day to buy a grill, which, by the way, is an essential item in a very lengthy argument I have constructed, which involves charts and graphs and other visual aids, and I won't bore you with that here. I had to wait in the entryway of Ace Hardware for about 5 minutes because they were only allowing 6 people at a time in the store. And they were encouraging people not to dawdle, but to move through the store quickly for what they need in order to make space for the next shopper to come in. Those good old days of the lazy, stroll up and down each aisle form of shopping have been temporarily shelved. Pun possibly intended. People are missing their jobs. Yes, believe it or not, that area of life that is probably the greatest source of grumbling and complaining is actually being missed. Some folks are working at home and they miss the convenience of the office with readily available office supplies, or they miss their coworkers and colleagues. Even a quick hello as people pass in the hallway suddenly has more value now that it's unavailable. Or they miss the definition that a place of business provides for your workday. It's a bit more challenging to know when the workday ends if you don't actually get in your car and leave it behind. And some folks are not able to work from home. They may be missing income. They may be missing a sense of security they once thought to be as reliable as the sun coming up. I read an article recently in the Nashville Scene, which was talking about the impact of the quarantine on folks in the music business. Several people I know rely on being able to travel and perform for live audiences in order to make a living. The article I read mentioned a bar and performance venue in East Nashville called the Five Spot. You may be familiar with it. They were closed down because of damage caused by the tornado. After repairing what needed to be repaired, they reopened for one day before having to close again because of the pandemic. This time has some people scrambling to create new ways of doing what they do and new ways of earning what they need. The silver lining here is that we're already seeing the music industry and other performing arts expand in ways they simply never had to before. Online concerts, remote sessions and mixing to create full orchestras or choirs who are never in the same room with each other. Here's my shameless plug time. I know many of you have seen or even posted the virtual choir of Nashville session singers singing "It Is Well With My Soul," which includes our own Nickie Conley at the 3-minute mark, and which now has views on all the platforms it's on, numbering in the millions. End of shameless plug. I think Denise posted that, by the way, if anybody wants to see it. I know I certainly did. Another musician I know even asked her fans to join her in a collaborative songwriting effort on Instagram Live the other day. It was amazing to see what was created in this space that might not have ever been conceived or created otherwise. In addition to those things which are already being directly missed, I've noticed that I have a heightened sense of missing things that I probably wouldn't have encountered during this time anyway. I drove by the Gallatin Public Library a few days ago and thought, I miss the library. Now, the truth is, I have been inside that library probably about 3 times in the last 6 years. Having it closed for a month or even 2 is not going to exactly alter my lifestyle. Yet, I sincerely miss the library. Now, before you think I'm a horrible English professor, I work at an institution that has its own library, so I have been to a library, just not the one I passed. I find myself missing my mother. I only have one. I find myself missing my mother and my sisters. They live in Missouri, and I generally see them about twice a year. Once at Christmas and usually once in the summer sometime. So far, the coronavirus has not kept me from my family any more than regular life does. Yet this experience somehow makes me miss them more. In the same vein, I find that I miss my father a bit more during this time. He passed away in 2013, and missing him is simultaneously a constant state of being and a state I'm pretty used to and don't really notice as much anymore. When you're stuck at home and the whole world feels like it's turned upside down, I guess the numbed feelings have a way of unnumbing just a little bit. Thinking about all of this stuff has made me think about the things I already missed before this season of retreat began, so I made a list. I miss Mr. Rogers. I miss Prince. I miss typewriters. I miss the news from Lake Wobegon. I miss having to wait a week for my favorite TV show. I miss station wagons with wood trim. I miss Mr. Pibb. I miss making a mixtape by recording songs off the radio. I miss the television broadcast day actually coming to an end. I miss that ceremonial act of initiating communication by dialing a number on a rotary phone. It was something special. I miss recess. I miss the after-school special. I miss Katharine Hepburn. I miss roller disco. I miss the Bee Gees. I miss McDonald's cheeseburgers being 33 cents. I miss the 1979 Camaro Z28 T-Top. I'm sure you have your own list. No matter how old you are or aren't, we've all seen quite a few things come and go. As my poppy, my grandfather on my father's side, would have said, well, you see now, everything gets over with. Let's face it, things change. They just do. I've seen a few folks over the past couple of years posting on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot that we shouldn't use the self-checkout line at Kroger because it takes away somebody's job. Now, I believe it's a noble thing to be concerned about the plight of others. Don't get me wrong. But I can't quite jump on that bandwagon. It seems a little to me like arguing against the automobile because it will take jobs away from people who shoe horses, or arguing against an automatic clothes washer because someone makes a living beating your pantaloons upon the rocks. Now, these things have a way of working themselves out. The shifting sands settle. Vinyl record manufacturers have actually seen a resurgence of business over the past few years as more music lovers buy actual albums. And we once thought vinyl was as good as gone. Jobs outsourced to India have improved job prospects for Indians and improved the overall global economy. And since we're all one, yay. 100 years ago, a whole lot more people had to provide a living for themselves through grueling and demanding physical labor. Because of technological changes, more and more of us work smarter rather than harder. More and more of us actually work shorter days and shorter weeks. Because of technological changes in a global pandemic, we still get to have church. Things change. And change can be really good. Yet we resist it. Sometimes we're even afraid of it, especially when the way it comes feels overwhelming or traumatic or just too much, too fast. We know that change brings something new, but we're still attached to the something old that change will force us to miss. And missing what used to be Well, that's grief. I've seen people say that we might as well not wish for normal to return. What used to be considered normal, they say, is gone. What we should look forward to, they say, is the creation of a new normal. It's as if we're in the middle of a giant reset breath. This is the blowing out. The time before was the global shallow breathing, the worldwide sense that we were forgetting to breathe. It's as if Gaia, Mother Nature, universal law, God, whatever you want to call it, grabbed us by the lapels, got right in our face and said, blow it all out, damn it. Blow it all out. Now, let's see if we can get you back to healthy respiration, back to a rejuvenating and sustainable cycle of breath. We've already begun to see the impact of allowing the earth to breathe. People in the Indian state of Punjab are seeing the Himalayan mountain range in the distance for the first time in decades because of the smog reduction. Herds of goats and turkeys and monkeys and elk have been photographed roaming through city centers and high school football stadiums and suburban backyards as they reclaim the land they once freely traveled. Seismologists, this is cool, seismologists have noted a significant reduction in the amount of surface level earth vibration coming from automobiles, buses, trucks, and trains that has allowed them to clearly record the Earth's natural vibrations and seismic shifts. Because of the reduction of noise pollution, people in large cities are reporting that they're hearing birds sing and realizing how long it had been since they'd been able to do that. Whales have been spotted nearer to the coast of Marseille, France, than they have been in years because of the reduction of water traffic. What if the life we were living before, the life I was living before, the life you were living before, is comparable to that polluted, overactive, busy world that we've managed to bring to a bit of a halt? What if on an individual level, we have had the need for some time now for our unnatural seismic vibrations to return to the vibration of something bigger than ourselves? And what if we've had the need for our busy, oil-slicked waters to return to the coming in and going out of pristine tides unencumbered by ships of commerce? There's a saying I like. I'm sure I've posted it to Facebook before. It says, stop the glorification of busy. I think modern busyness really kicked into gear in the 1980s and 90s. I remember watching my nieces having a very different childhood experience from the one that I and my sisters had. And I remember watching their mother, my sister, having a seemingly very different experience from the one our mother had. It was the era that gave birth to the soccer mom and kids with multiple after-school practices and activities, and dads working overtime because the Joneses one had to keep up with had a lot more stuff these days, and the decline of the family dinner time because everyone was just too busy. And all that busyness somehow managed to make itself into our new normal. You see, what we thought was normal before the pandemic, our grandparents and great-grandparents would likely have thought was way out of balance. Yep, that busyness made itself into our new normal. So we can unmake it. We can create something new. we can create something better. The earth itself is holding space for our authentic transformation. And that transformation is something more than just change. It's radical change. Perhaps the difference between change and radical change is that change will happen whether we want it or not. Change will happen whether we initiate it or not. But radical change, true transformation, magical transmogrification is something that springs from our own spirit, from our clear and conscious intentions. Change invades our space. Transformation comes when we hold the space. And maybe, just maybe, something that springs from our clearest and most conscious intentions needs to have as many distractions reduced as possible, even work, even socializing, maybe even, dare I say it, church. The prophet Isaiah recorded these words as God speaking in chapter 43, verses 19 through 20. This is from the Message. Forget about what's happened. Don't keep going over old history. Be alert. Be present. I'm about to do something brand new. It's bursting out. Don't you see it? There it is. I'm making a road through the desert, rivers in the Badlands. Wild animals will say thank you, the coyotes and the buzzards, because I provided water in the desert, rivers through the sun-baked earth. My friends, we are living in the times when the divine is making things brand new. That's amazing. So many times, our artists and musicians and poets, they feel these times coming before the rest of us. They start to paint the picture and sing the songs long before we have a clue what's going on. I've asked Nickie to share a song that was first recorded by Bob Dylan in January of 1964, 3 months before I was born. It almost seems written for today. Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you'd better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone. For the times, they are a-changing. Come writers and critics who prophesy with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. And there's no telling who that is naming, for the loser now will be later to win. And the times, they are a-changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. The battle outside is raging, will soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times, they are a-changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging, Please get out of the way if you can't lend a hand, for the times they are a-changing. The line it is drawn, the die it is cast. The slow one now will later be last, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are a-changing. For the times they are a-changing. Thanks, Nickie. I knew y'all would be a little upset with me if I didn't include Nickie somehow. My sister recently sent me a poem that fits today perfectly. It's by Catherine O'Meara. By the way, Catherine, or Kitty O'Meara, is the writer of the poem that's been going viral on social media the last month or so, called In the Time of Pandemic. It begins, and the people stayed home, and they read books, and listened, and rested. I won't read the rest of it because I think so many people are familiar with it by now, and I believe Denise may have posted it. This particular poem I want to share with you is called Candles in the Dark, and Miss O'Meara posted it on April 9th. I offer it to you now as a kind of benediction for our time together today. Candles in the Dark. The overlay of tragic days on those we know as holy invites our hearts to listen to stories shining light. Our ancestors, yearning for freedom, waiting while the Holy One passed over and spared them. Our ancestors, huddled in helplessness, weeping while crucified mercy awaited entombment. Our ancestors, searching the earth and stars, wondering when winter would leave them and new life return. Our ancestors, families embracing, hoping in times dark and desperate for safety and peace. In mystery, fragile and delicate, learning survival has always depended on love. Freedom came and mercy rose, spring blossomed, justice triumphed. The story ends, another starts, inviting transformation. Every choice we make today creates the living chapter that passes on and offers hope, or not, to those who follow. We will adapt. We will endure. We will survive this illness, and we will add our wisdom to stories shining light. Take heart, my friends, and take care. And in the words of Queen Elizabeth II, we shall meet again. Namaste.